Welcome, everybody, to episode 47 of Crossing the Line.
Woo!
With Scott Nadler, with Greg Heym, but we have to have Scott on because he's the man. How you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing great, Greg. Thank you very much for having me today.
Well, I was told I had. No, it's always a pleasure having you on.
You were forced to have me, yeah.
You know, people want to know where the money is.
In arranged marriage, basically.
Well, you know, sometimes people grow to love over time.
I agree.
You know, this romance thing's got to develop into something a little, you know. I thought it's been okay.
I did mention you over the weekend. I was at a Friendsgiving and we went around the table talking about what we're thankful for.
Yeah, you said you were thankful for me.
I mentioned you. I did.
You were thankful that you only have to work with me every other week? Was that it? Or
no, Greg, don't sell yourself short.
Well, it's got to be somebody's job. If you're not going to do it, I have to sell myself short. Well, it's great to have you on. So you had the Friendsgiving.
Yeah.
And
have you done this before?
No, I wouldn't go to a party like that. But if you like it, that's fine. You know, economists by nature are not happy and don't necessarily want to talk about their feelings. So I don't. So you want to share what you were thankful for?
Not really, Greg.
Okay.
I mean, it was, friends, family, crossing the line, the Knicks.
Well, the Knicks are starting to gel a little bit.
They had a bad loss over the weekend.
Bad loss is what happened to St. John's in the last couple of games. The loss to Purdue was terrible. Yesterday, lost to Georgia. You know, you get ranked for the first time in like 5 years. I get excited, and then bye-bye top 25.
Rip your heart out. Your sports teams tend to do that to you.
Well, look, the Yankees went to the World Series. Can't complain about that. The Rangers, went to the conference finals 2 out of the last 3 years. They've started off a little rocky, but they're still one of the better teams in the league.
Look at you putting a positive spin on things. It's a brand new Greg.
I'm being honest. It's a brand new Greg, yes. It's not even New Year yet, and it's new Greg. Well, new haircut.
It does look good, I was going to say.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, today is November 25th, and the good news was that the Jets finally found a way not to lose. You don't play.
Yes.
You're on a bye. You don't lose. I'm thankful that we're getting closer to the end of the season. We'll see what the Jets do, but the Jets and the Giants aren't even worth discussing anymore. There were some interesting kind of games, interesting ending in the Cowboys Commodores game, one that you don't expect. Now kickers routinely kick 50-yard field goals like they're nothing. Nothing.
We should be testing them for performance
but
enhancing drugs.
Something about an extra point, and they lose their minds.
It's all mental. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
They used to be automatic when they were 20 yards. You move them back a little over 10 yards, and all of a sudden nobody can kick them.
It's like these guys who can hit 50-foot shots, but they can't make a free throw.
Yeah, that was my no, that was not. No, you get more money. You get paid more money if you're hitting threes than free throws.
Right.
But usually they could do both. I don't know.
The pressure can get to these people.
Well,
even
yes.
the elites.
The pressure of this show gets to me every week.
It's getting me right now. I'm shaking.
I'm like, how can I make this just a little more interesting every week? Bashing the Jets is usually a good way to do it. Now I don't have that material. I did have a gig this weekend on Friday. It was a lot of fun. Small restaurant, good time. And
what was the highlight?
The highlight for me is me and my partner, Pat. Like, I'm always calling the tunes. He lets me do that. He focuses on singing and what he does. And anytime there's people there that sit in, you never know what they want to sing. Mm-hmm. There's always the person who says, play Freebird. That happens. And you never want to hear, Sweet Caroline or Margaritaville mentioned, because you never want to do those songs. If they hold up money, you'll do it. But but somebody wanted to sing Walking in Memphis, which I haven't heard in 20 years, let alone ever played. And actually it was good. And How Do I Live?
Mark Cohn, right?
Yeah. The Trisha Yearwood / Leanne Rimes song. So it's always interesting because it takes the pressure off me, which is try to play what they want us to play. And if it doesn't sound good, we blame them when they sing.
So what did you open with and what did you close with?
We always close with the same song. It's a song called Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny. It's an instrumental from the 50s. You've probably heard it in movies. Lap pedal, steel guitar kind of song. We always say we're going to send you home, tired, and put you to sleep. I don't know what we opened with. It might have been...
Thank God we don't tell that.
You are
the
sunshine of my life. I think we open with. We like to play something right away. People know.
Gotcha.
So that's always Stevie Wonder's always a good way to start it.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so I think that you guys weekends okay, Lena, Ray.
Very good.
Very good.
Friendsgiving. It was like Friendsgiving.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and did you get to say what you were thankful for?
No, we just ate and drank.
Well, that's something to be thankful for. You get to
Yeah.
the eating and the drinking.
Yeah. You're probably thankful that you didn't have to go around in a circle and say what you were thankful for.
Oh, and yeah, don't tell my wife, but I also got a new guitar this weekend. But outside of that,
She doesn't listen to this.
No, she does not. Or she'll put it on. I'll put it on to watch it, to approve it, and then she's on her phone.
Right.
I'm like, did you see that? And she goes, I'm not paying it. She doesn't even pretend to pay attention. My son,
It's a healthy marriage.
My son would only listen to it on Spotify. He doesn't want to have to watch it, but even he doesn't do that anymore.
Right.
You got to. Once he was on the podcast, we
got
had
to
him
bring them
on.
back. We got to
We gotta
figure out
bring the
ways
kids
to.
back
Yeah,
on,
we got to
yeah.
get the kids back.
Or maybe get my wife on for a rebuttal show or something like that.
That'd be nice. Calling in on the line.
Yeah.
Greg is.
Or get my mother. You get my mother to call in remotely. Then you really have a fun show to watch. Well, anyway, as always, coming to you from beautiful 1873, Studio 1873, conveniently located right outside my office, and that's enough mistakes for one promo. So let's just show the video.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
Okay, we're back and we're slap happy already, so that's good. It was going so well, and then I couldn't say one sentence. It's one of those days.
Yeah. You got to just continue to push through, Greg.
I guess I have a case of the Mondays for you Office Space fans out there.
What a throwback.
So to be in a non-stop effort to be different, maybe, we're going to break up today into three parts: the good, the okay, and the ugly. We don't want to say the bad. The middle one is kind of like a 50-50 thing. So we'll start with the good last week, and that was weekly jobless claims falling to a 7-month low. Now, that's really good. When the number was 213,000 new claims for unemployment, which historically is incredibly low. Basically anything under 300,000 is really low. So why is this such good news? Why do we care about it? Well, there's three reasons. Remember the last jobs report, we only had 12,000 jobs. A lot of that was due to the Boeing strike and the hurricanes, right? So we knew the Boeing thing would get worked out, but what are the hurricanes going to do to hiring? Are people going to get laid off? So it looks like things are okay. We haven't seen any mass layoffs. So that was like two things combined into one. And, this probably means good things for the November jobs report. I would think. You got any feelings on that, Scott Nadler?
Well, look, in the event that the jobs report does come in higher than expectations.
That would be bad.
It's not going to be a great thing for inflation, for mortgage rates. So we'll just have to see. I think right now, one of the good things is we've seen more stability. Things haven't been fluctuating nearly as much as they were, which is a good thing. We like things being stable. It makes it easier to advise clients. It makes it easier to have those conversations where someone's actively looking, they have a better sense as far as what their payments are. But as we've seen, we can get surprised by a lot of this data.
Well, and the thing is, since mid-October, like sort of right after all these bad things happened, claims did get up to 260. Now they're down to 213. It's a big decline, which again, we don't typically put a lot of stock in any 1 week data, but when the trend is clearly showing us something. The other thing too is there were a lot of people waiting until a certain event was over. I can't believe we still got to dance around that.
We can't say the word.
All right. Well,
there was a political contest between two people.
A showdown. But there have been a lot of stories now, and we saw this with people maybe waiting to buy or sell, but companies were also waiting to just make hiring decisions based on the outcome of that contest / showdown / event, whatever you want to call it. And now we're expecting maybe, some green shoots in hiring, like you said, would be bad. If it's too good. There's good and then there's too good. It's like if you're eating something and it's too good, it's probably got too many calories, and that's going to be a bad thing. It's just like this, because it's going to push up you know, the 10-year bonds that control the 30-year rates, and a rising tide gives you inflation.
Right. But after this political contest that we keep talking about, the National Association of Home Builders came out, and their sentiment is the highest it's been in many years, which is great. They're looking forward to the Republicans taking control and regulations going away. That's what they said. And that could be a good thing for housing.
Well, the flip side of that, though, is the concern about the crackdown on, you know, immigration and what that might do to the
Correct.
supply of labor.
This
You
is
know.
the good section, though.
Well, yeah, I would be happy. It's good that they're that optimistic because the rate situation is not so
Yes.
good, and we'll get to that in our ugly part of the show.
Yeah.
No offense, Scott. You know,
None taken,
can't you
Greg.
get those rates down? No, I'm just joking.
But in terms of home ownership, I saw this recently. Do you know what the average net worth of a homeowner versus a renter was in 2019 and then again in 2024? So let's say the average net worth of a homeowner in 2019. What do you think it was?
$1 million.
No, less. $295,000.
Really?
Yeah, average net worth around the country.
Okay.
Not just here. The average net worth of a renter in 2019 was $7,300.
Wow.
Fast forward to 2024, the average net worth of a homeowner is $415,000.
Well, because their home has gone up
exactly.
significantly in value.
And
yes.
the average net worth of a renter is $10,000.
Wow.
So home ownership is really a hedge against inflation.
It is known to be a good one, yes.
Right. So looking at those numbers, it kind of really screamed out that like the advantages and benefits of owning a home versus renting.
Right. Well, you know, again, there are a variety of reasons people may choose one versus the other, how long they expect to be at their job, if they're planning on moving, a life event, stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, it is traditionally a good way to build wealth. And, you know, like a 401k, you pay into something every month, and then all of a sudden you look and go, wow, it's gone up significantly. And that's a good thing.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that concludes the good part of the show. I don't mean the part you're actually going to be able to watch. I mean that
30
happy.
seconds. Good
That,
job.
is that what it was? No.
Just kidding.
But before we move on to the okay, we have this word from our tremendous sponsor,
Thank you for adding tremendous.
CrossCountry Mortgage. You may recognize the guy in the commercial.
I'm Scott Nadler, one of the nation's top mortgage originators, and I'm here to help you take control of your mortgage. Ready to lower your payments or pull out cash for life's big moments? I've got the solutions you need. With over a decade of experience, I'll make your refinance a breeze from start to finish. Don't wait. Call me at CrossCountry Mortgage today, and let's start saving you money.
And we're back with Scott Nadler. I didn't know he had a twin. The guy in the video that
There's a lot
looks
of
just
things
like
that
you.
you don't know about me, Greg.
And I don't need to know. That's fine. We'll keep this as informal as you like. All right. So now we're on to the okay part of this. And that was existing home sales up 3.4% in October. And you go, well, that sounds pretty good, Greg. What's wrong with it? All right. So it's a 50-50 thing. So on the good side of the ledger, you know, the gain was nice. You know, that's a big jump in a month. And it was the first year-over-year gain in existing home sales in over 3 years. Also, inventory is up almost 20% year over year. Also a really good thing, right? Bodes well for prices leveling off a bit and more buyers being able to jump in. Then there's the sad part, since the first part was the happy part. Most of the contracts signed, if not all of them, for these existing home sales were between July and September when rates were plummeting. Remember, we were just about to touch 6%, and now we're worried about what we may touch next if it's 7 or even higher, right?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And, you know, the rates have continued to rise. So I think, and I had said this in the blog when we talked about last month's existing home sales and pending home sales, that because pending home sales are when contracts are signed, so that's a good leading indicator, that you're going to see existing home sales rise in October, which they did because but as you get further away from when rates were going down, you probably see another slowdown. Although mortgage applications, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, to purchase a home in October were pretty decent, even with rising rates. So, that's a question we ask you a lot. Are people saying, all right, I'm tired of this guessing, trying to time it. This is nonsense. I need to make this move. I want to make this move. Let me just go ahead.
We're working with a lot of real estate agents, and real estate agents have also gotten smart when it comes to submitting offers. So, I was speaking to someone on Sunday, actually, and she thought the rate of 6.75% was too high, but 6.25 was more in line with what they were looking for. So that difference for their loan is about $200 a month. So over the year, that's $2,400. So they negotiated a credit. So I think agents and brokers alike are getting smarter in terms of how they're making offers, which is certainly helping. Also, right. I think the buy downs are a lot more attractive now. So months ago, to lower the rate by 0.25%, you'd pay a point, 1% of the loan. Now it's closer to you pay a point to lower the rate by 50 basis points. So that buy down is a lot more attractive. So as lenders, as we're seeing that, it's another option we can offer to someone, which makes it more attractive.
And everybody's got to get nimble, right, when things like this are happening. I think that people want certainty. They want a sense of knowing what's going on. I mean, the turnaround of mortgage rates was V-shaped, basically, when you think about it. We had just gotten to 6.08, and then it's like you blink, and all of a sudden you're at 6 3/4. But again, this shows there's too many moving pieces to the housing market, right? You've got what's going on with supply, and you've got what's going on with prices, and now you've got to deal with rates going mostly in one direction. We just enjoyed celebrating a small weekly decline of 1/100th of a percent,
right?
1 basis point.
We celebrate the wins. I also saw that the median age of a home buyer 3 years ago was 33 years old.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Now it's 38 years old. So in 3 years, that median number has changed pretty drastically.
Well, I think obviously the surge in home prices and mortgage rates at the same time has something to do with that. And, some generations have different views about home ownership, and I think Gen Z is one of them. Although Gen Z has benefited, though, from the fact that a lot of them aren't tied to a city anymore because of remote work.
They could be mobile also,
and,
for sure.
We've talked about this before, that their percentages of young home ownership rival what we saw in prior generations because of that flexibility. It doesn't have to be in the city you work in.
Yep.
And a lot of them are going to the cheaper spaces.
Absolutely.
Not me. I love working in New York City and living close to it. I got a studio right outside my office.
Corner office here, Greg. Yeah.
It's not
too shabby.
It's not technically a corner, but it's got a nice view.
You don't need to know that.
I can see the really nice, expensive building, but this is working on Park Avenue. All the buildings are nice, so it is the nicest office I've ever had in 32 years of working.
It is a nice office, TV and everything.
Well, yes, streaming TV. But yes, who needs cable like that anymore?
Color too.
Color, yes, Technicolor. Look, I am old enough to have had a black and white TV at some point. I try to explain that to my son, who can't understand a world where video is just not on demand all the time.
Yeah.
And that you actually had to sit through commercials.
He'll complain if the Wi-Fi doesn't work on a flight, probably.
He complains if his PlayStation game lags, because of internet problems.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't lag.
I get it. I game too. But I game early in the morning. It's when a lot of those people aren't up. Yeah. So, but anyhow, on that strong economic note, let's take our second break of the show.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
All right, now to our favorite part, or maybe our not favorite part, the ugly
let the audience
part.
Judge.
The ugly part, which is mortgage rates, which hit their highest level since July. In July, at least, we had warm weather, we were out in the sun, maybe taking vacation somewhere, school was out.
Yeah, we turned the clocks back, and it's colder out there. Yeah.
It's cold this morning. It was 30-something degrees when I woke up.
Yeah, I felt it.
Yeah, and that one little basis point dip now is erased big time. 6.84% is the average 30-year conforming, highest level since the middle of July. So there's nothing great to say about that other than this is what happens when you have higher than expected inflation and higher than expected economic growth, right? We talk about this every week.
And I think the messaging when it comes to inflation is really important because inflation is coming down, but it's just that the pace is slowing. So it's like you driving in your Tesla going 90 miles an hour.
Which I'm still not doing because it's still not repaired yet.
Well, when the day comes and you're driving your Tesla.
It better come soon because I miss my car big time. I haven't.
What are you driving now?
Gas cars. It's like, I've never been a car person in my life. I never care what I drove. I don't know much about fixing them. I can change a tire, although on a Tesla you can't. You have to have a flatbed come and get you. People are like, where's the spare in the jack? I'm like, they don't give you one. The car's too heavy for that stuff. But with the Tesla, it's so cool and so simple, and it's just a different way of driving. I can't. You tell people that you don't use the brake. Like, it doesn't have a brake. Oh, no, it has a brake, but you don't use it. You learn to drive completely different.
Right.
And it's actually a much more relaxed way to drive.
Right. I knew I shouldn't have said.
I know. You don't say the
Tesla,
T word in here.
And then
so
you're gonna go on a rant. I knew it.
It's not a rant. I just want my car back. Thanksgiving. It should be. It might be ready this week. Who knows?
What I was saying though is, when you're driving a car and you're going 90 miles an hour,
right,
and then you slow down. Now you're going 50 miles an hour. You're still moving forward.
Correct.
And that's what's so inflation continues to go up, just not at the pace as it once was.
Again, it's disinflation, not deflation.
Correct.
So
and you're seeing it depends on kind of who you talk to based on what they think the economy is doing. Because those who are invested in the market and have Nvidia stock or have Bitcoin, let's say, they're doing great. But the average consumer, there was the New York Fed survey that just came out and said, I think people delinquent on their auto loans is at a 15-year high.
Yeah.
I think people delinquent on credit cards is at like a 14-year high.
Well, that's the thing. And like with agents, I'll issue a report on signed contracts or closings or inventory. And they're like, I read your report and that's not what I'm seeing in the market. It's like, okay, well, if you're seeing better, then good for you. But, people just take their own experience. People that, really food is the thing that would jump at most people because the cost, eggs has risen in price over the last year more than any other product we buy.
Yep.
And I just saw a thing on the news this morning. It could get worse.
Mm-hmm.
If you drive a lot, you're probably happy because gas prices have been going down. On a cold day, it's good that fuel oil, has had the biggest decline year over year. So yeah, it is about your own experiences, where you live and what you rely most on.
Right.
And I think it's a problem because, like a lot of things, until you experience it, I'm old enough to remember the 80s and the inflation of the 80s. I didn't have to worry about it because, I was only this big then. But when you go so many decades without it being a problem, people forget how painful it is and how hard it is to get rid of.
Right.
And I think, the Fed is trying to do the right thing and telling everybody to be patient. We're on the job. But it's the frustrating part. And when people hear, oh, now the Fed's going to cut rates, everybody, unfortunately assumes that all rates are going down by equal increments. And when it comes to credit cards and auto loans, which should be affected almost immediately, it's not happening, basis point for basis point.
Right.
I talked about this 2 weeks ago, I think it was, that you look at credit cards and they've gone down by like 10 basis points, not at an equal level to the 75 the Fed has done. So that's the problem. People are still waiting for the relief they thought they would get instantaneously. Mm-hmm. And with mortgage rates, when you read these news stories, they kind of imply that they should come down as well. And there's some logic to that over time. Mm-hmm. Because why are you cutting rates? Because the economy is slowing. If the economy is slowing, then that should take rates down with it. Oh, wait, it's not slowing. Wait a minute. It's like, that's the ping-ponging almost of this. You're trying to, or watch a tennis match where you're going back and forth. Like, well, now this looks good. This doesn't look good.
Right. Right.
So how do you calm down your would-be buyers out there outside of, medication to get them to...
We do prescribe medication these days. No, it's look, we're not in a position to force anyone to buy a home. We talk to obviously many clients though, and it is fascinating how some people will nitpick the costs associated with buying a home versus people who don't care at all.
Right.
We'll say it's $750 for an appraisal, and some people don't think twice about it. And other people are, and it could be a similar price range where they're looking to buy a home for $900,000. They have a similar financial profile, but maybe one's more invested in something and their assets are growing for them, where they're less sensitive to some of those costs. But that's also personality, and upbringing.
I had the same thing when I bought my home. There was evidence of old termite damage, and the sellers didn't want to pay for an inspection. I said, well, then you don't want to sell your house.
Right.
Like, you have to. Like, why do I have to pay? Because that's the way it works. Yeah. It's like when you think of how much money you want to hand them over, and something that's a couple $100, or even, when people complain about repairs to the house. Well, guess what? You have a car, you have a house, anything like that, you have to have money for repairs. That's why you want to see some other money when they close, right? Because it's inevitable that they...
I have a rental property, and I had an amazing tenant that just moved out 2 months ago. And I have a new tenant moving in hopefully next week. But I'm supposed to paint the apartment, and I have to get board approval. And Greg, it is such a nightmare just getting board approval to get the painter approved to paint the apartment. And the costs associated with the painting, fixing a few things in the apartment, it's just, it really adds up.
I'm not available to do that stuff. I'm just telling you.
I was going to say, you have some time after this.
We bought our house 18 years ago. I painted then and have not painted since. Yeah. It's just, well, we redid the bathrooms. We paid people to paint. But I remember being worried upstairs, because they had wallpaper up there. And I'm like, I don't like the way this looks. And my father goes, who goes in your bedroom? It's like, what are you worried about? Or put the dresser over there, put a picture over there. That was the old school way to hide paint problems.
Yeah, smart.
Coming from an apartment that had plaster walls, sheetrock seems a lot easier to deal with. It cracks also, but, you can cover it seems a little bit easier. So how do we make the ugly a little less ugly? Well, the Fed is still expected to cut next month. Reuters just had a survey of economists. The thing that, economists are more and more coming to the consensus that we're not going to get as many cuts at 25 as we thought, probably. But again, things can change. Mm-hmm. But just remember these three things. If you don't remember anything else from this, remember these three things. Scott needs board approval. No. A year ago, rates were 7.29%. So they're lower than they were a year ago. The average 30-year conforming mortgage over the last 50 years has been 7.7%. So when we say rates are high, or if we mistakenly, we shouldn't say that. Rates, I know people say, you're not going to say they're low, are you? No, they're a little below average. We'll go with that.
Relatively speaking.
And the third thing is the Dow closed at a record Friday. Maybe that helps. Doesn't hurt unless you just sold your stock, but, there's a lot of optimism and relief out there in the markets, it seems, as people are going on with their lives now, at least most of them anyway, which is keeping things going and hopefully will keep consumer spending. People like me just can't find enough guitars to buy. We all have our, vice buying.
Guitars is yours?
But the thing is, people's like, why do you need multiple guitars? And they're all built differently. They sound differently. So I just say, I don't have that make of guitar I can get. And there's thousands of them you could get.
Things are going well then.
Well, look, I'm not buying expensive guitars. It's, but this is a time of year too. Anytime you had your eye on something getting close to Black Friday, you get good deals. And a lot of these stores started these sales like a month ago, which makes it easier. And it's expected to be a very good holiday season.
And we were talking about on Friday, Black Friday deals for real estate. This is the week. This is historically a very slow week
Well,
in the real estate
so
world.
I was just doing the contract sign numbers for this last week, and Thanksgiving came earlier. So a year ago, Thanksgiving had already happened.
Mm-hmm.
So contracts were up almost 60% year over year because of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So obviously it
Makes
slows
sense.
everything down. People are thinking about other things.
Correct. But if you have a seller who's desperate and you're a buyer looking, this is a good week where you could potentially make a deal.
Make him an offer. He
Make
can't
him an
refuse.
offer he can't refuse. Exactly.
Well, hopefully you'll both agree to it in a nicer way than that. You're not going to go all Luca Brasi on the person because this isn't the 1940s. It's not the 1940s, Ray, is it? No. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. All right. So I mean, that's it. Not the craziest week for data. We'll see what happens next week. We'll get PCE data, and then before we know it, we'll have a jobs report to talk about, and then we'll know something.
And then we got the Fed, December 18th.
Fed. Those people. It's all their fault. We could be
Gotta
a
blame
lot
someone.
happier. Well, for the inflation problem, you can blame the people that printed the money,
Mm-hmm.
and you can blame the people that pretended like none of this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
We all look the other way, or go to bed and hope it works out okay in the morning. It didn't work out so well in the morning, and you see that when you get inflation, it's been 2.5 years of weighing the American consumer down, who's miraculously still finding a way to pay for, paying more money to get less of the stuff that they're buying because the prices have continued to go up, albeit at a slower pace. Luckily, wage growth has remained pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about things we're thankful for. From an economic standpoint, let's be thankful the labor market is held up as well as it has, be thankful for baby boomers because they're the ones really keeping us out of recession because they have the cash. They got great interest on their CDs. They're very happy. And now they're going out and spending. They may not be selling their homes as much as
But
we
they're
like.
gifting money to their kids so they could buy homes. We're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. And if you want to gift money to crossing
us.
the line, CTL at BHS USA, our Venmo is, it's, I think that it's people get you when things change the way they did, it seemed to happen overnight, but it didn't really happen. This inflation didn't just one day it was there. Like you could see it and the warning signs were there, but I don't think people were ready for how long it was going to last. When you think of the pandemic shock, the stock market within a couple months was at records again. There's optimism. You're going forward. Unfortunately, with prices, they don't reset like that.
Right.
And, the supply and demand, functions just ruin everything.
Yeah. And it's that silent tax.
Well, it's a shame. But again, it's something we haven't experienced since the 80s, just like, seeing rates approaching 7-8%. People are like, no, I only know 3%. It's like, yeah, that happened once. Right. Don't expect it to happen again. So just a couple other things that I'm thankful for, since it is a Thanksgiving. Anybody can join in or not. I'm obviously thankful for my family very much. I'm thankful that I live in this country. I'm thankful the Jets season is getting closer to an end. Thankful for the support that this show has gotten, and anybody that supported me in my career. There's you always have a lot of people to thank. Actually, last night, my guitar teacher who we had on the show, he had moved to Ohio, came back in town to sit in. And the guy that introduced me to him
Mm-hmm.
came to see his old buddy, Mark Marino, this guy named Vinny Sharafalo. And Vinny is the reason I'm a gigging musician. If I hadn't met him years ago, a couple years before the pandemic, I would not be playing the gigs. I wouldn't have met Mark. I wouldn't have become a better guitar player. So I'm thankful for the randomness of life.
Mentors are really important.
Well, you can look at it too. Like I never saw real estate as a profession. I used to work at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The guy I used to work with there became a chief economist at Rebbe and then was leaving.
Yeah.
I wasn't part of a plan. So those are, if I forgot anybody I should have been thankful for, I'll apologize in next week's episode. You have any thankfulnesses?
Family, friends, my company. We have an amazing company.
We're
great
very
team.
thankful for CrossCountry Mortgage, by the way.
I am too. I have an incredible team. My processor, our underwriter, my assistant. Like we're an incredible team.
Well, we have a pretty good team here.
And I'm gonna get to it.
Okay.
We have
Oh,
a great
sorry.
team here. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to be on this show with the one and only Greg Heym.
Hey, they're not going to make more of me. That's not going to happen. When they look at what's happened to the prototype, you know, they're not going to make any more.
No,
of me.
and Lena and Ray and Matt, the whole team here is really incredible.
And
It's such
everybody, we've had a bunch of great guests. Lisa Ray hosts when the Scott Nadler is not available, and it's been a lot of fun.
the culture here is really great. It's there are a lot of good people.
We
here.
put something in the mugs before we give you.
I wouldn't stop. Yeah.
It's it's fun, and it's good to think about the holiday and spending some time. You know, my son will be going away to college next year, so you start to think, wow, will he be home next Thanksgiving? I don't even know. Plus, this is the first Thanksgiving without my mother, who moved to Texas, and my one brother that lived near me moved upstate, so I won't be seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be nice to connect with the three of us, and then I'll get to watch more football. And
There you go.
3
Get to cook,
games is
too?
great. No, I eat.
Yeah. Me too.
My wife is an excellent cook. Learned from my mother. And the funny thing is, my mother being Sicilian and Italian, some of the best things she makes are not Italian dishes. You know, the turkey. She used to make, I used to love the leftovers. She'd make the most delicious turkey soup with the wide egg noodles in there. Oh, so I'm getting hungry thinking about it now.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, and I'm
We
thankful.
talk about food a lot here.
And mentioning my mother, I'm thankful that my mother is still alive. I lost my dad, actually, November 15th was 3 years since my dad passed. So knowing, I understand and I'm grateful for how lucky I was to have both my parents for that long. And my mother, I'll joke about her from time to time. She can be a little bit tough on me.
Yeah.
Now she has to do it over the phone. She can't yell at me in person, but you know.
That is her job. What you know? It's
She's got 3 other sons. She's got 8 grandkids. She can spread it
She
around.
probably divides the criticism.
I don't
you
know. We'll see about that. I got to check in and see how.
Yeah.
But we have a lot to be thankful for. We you know, there's always stuff that's on our mind, and as a country, we seem to be at each other's throats about certain things like political contests. But at the end of the day, I think we can pull together and just love everybody.
Well said.
Funny, so did economists just tell people to love everybody? Usually we're just like, go spend, buy real estate. Well, on that note, thanks again, Scott Nadler. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We will be back next week. I don't get to take long breaks or anything like that, but, you know, we love doing it so much. Why would we ever want to stop, Ray?
Agreed.
So have a great week. Have a great holiday. And we look forward to crossing the line with you again next week.